We'll just go through and take you through from where we dry the timber through to the finished product, so you can see sort of how you can turn a pretty shitty piece of timber into something quite nice. So only thing is all the machines are all plugged in and fully wired. A lot of them are pretty dangerous, so don't push any green buttons, otherwise you never know what's going to happen. Other than that, we'll just cruise through and see how it goes. Any questions? If you've got any questions, just yell out. So the timber comes in pretty much from the log form. We used to cut our own timber, but this place got rezoned, so then all the timber we cut, all the scrap had to go into a green bin. Doesn't really work for the commercial sawmill. So all of that timber's now cut somewhere else, like up Coopers or where you try and source it locally. So they cut it, comes down here, it gets blutted out, it sticks. When it's green, it's got a really high moisture content, which means it's pretty hopeless for what we need. So we've got to pull the moisture content down to about 12% of the post, and then it's going to be shipped over the divide, it's got to be pulled down to about 9–10%. So we rack it out. Racked out timber outside will probably only dry down to about 20%. Then you've got to force the rest of the moisture out of the timber in a kiln. So we rack it out till it gets down to about 23. Then it goes into the kiln, which is sort of the third stage of drying. You've got like the real green stage, and then it gets down to the next stage, it gets down to 23, it stops cracking, then it goes into the kiln. So it gets to that stage. Then it goes into here, so the door's open, just put on the trolley rack, it shuffles into there. So this is a solar powered kiln, so it picks up 90% of its energy from the sun, heats the water, comes down to here, goes through a heat exchanger that then transfers it from the water to the air. And it just continuously circulating air through the timber, so it's quite racked out. So as the air goes across the top, drops down, gets pulled through the timber, back through the heat exchanger, just keeps cycling. So this will pull it down to its final moisture content, and then once that's ready, it comes out, down the kiln. Depending on the species, Australian, the denser the timber, the longer it takes. So you're actually collapsing the cells, so you can imagine like an orange, cell in an orange, it's all moisture, then slowly it gets less and less and less. Then what you're trying to do is collapse it, okay? Then once you pull it out, it will take up the moisture from the air again, but the cell will still be sort of compressed or in that size, so it makes it stable. Normally it takes, for like flooded gum, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and if you're sticking in a real, like an iron bark or something like that, it'll take about a month. But getting it from the green stage to there can take up to a year for one species. So it's a bit of a slow process, but that's how it goes. So then once we pull it out of here, you take the guts out, which is all those sticks out, and we pretty much grade it. So the good stuff gets put into one pile, and the not so good stuff gets put into a different pile. And it gets stacked away. So right in here you've got a bit of black butt. This is New Rose, that's an imported timber. Tallows, recycled, Merbau. And then up there in the racks you've got Jarrah, Tassie Oaks, blue gums, flooded gum, some iron bark. So it's all the species you sort of need to pick and choose to work in your designs. Okay, so we get to the point now the timber's all ready to use. Obviously we design it in the office, then the designs come out onto the board, and then we have to say, right, we make a cutting list. So the timber then comes from here, you have your cutting list, you dock off all your racks that you need to have. Okay, so you're making all your panels and your rails and probably all be doing that and working that out still. But at that point the timber's still what you call rough sawn. That's still in that sort of stage. you do is you take it over to this machine for your jointer. You've got one of those, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you're putting on pretty much one flat edge. If the timber's really twisted, you straighten it on the jointer, and it comes into this machine. This is called a four-header, or moulder. So it's pretty much like a jointer, except it does the flat, then it does your two sides and your top. So you can set your sides up and you can run that. So that'll run at about 20 metres a minute. So it just stretches your timber down and gets it ready for the next stage a lot faster than going jointer, thicknesser, jointer, thicknesser. It's just a one pass machine. There's a lot of technical stuff setting it up. It's setup time can be, if you're changing your mouldings, can be like half an hour to an hour, but once you've got it set up, it goes fast. Where if you've just got it set up for square dressing, you just wind it out to wherever you want it, and away you go. This machine's probably about 10 years old. The new technology with all CNC is the new machines are much faster. You dial it in, it sets it up for you. But,
how much is this be worth, Dean?
this machine's worth about 17. The new one's probably looking at up to $500,000 for a big machine. But you pick up something equivalent to the new designs of today for probably about 100 quid.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, still a lot of money.
Like a small flap.
Yeah. Well, you know, the idea is to make money off it. A lot of flower price. Right, yeah. So then it goes to that machine. Then you've got your panel sizes, so when you rough cut them, you always cut them oversized. So then they're cut to nice, they're dressed, comes to the panel saw, you dock everything to the right sizes, so it's all ready to go. Now if you've got a panel you're going to glue up, you've got to be doing like the joint you've been doing your panel. Biscuit joining, that sort of thing. So this machine here,
No, we use a table router, Dean. Is that only sort of edging we can do?
Okay, so this is a spindle moulder, and that cutter's got it's like a finger jointer. So you pretty much feed your timber in and it just straightens it again, and then also puts a joint in, so when the timber goes together, you end up with that sort of a pattern, and your glue line expands from being like say you're doing a 20mm board, to having a 20mm glue line, you actually have an 80mm glue line, which gives you a lot of torque and twist in the timber. So, pretty versatile machine, and it's CNC programmable, so you can just lift this head up and down, so you can actually have a stacked head, so you can have a V-groove cutter, round over cutter, everything stacked up on a big head, and you just push it up and down. So,
this is just like an amped up router, yeah? Just a big industrial.
It's a router, exactly. A lot of things in timber is actually routers, like there's your old classic, you know, little router.
Yep.
And this is sort of like a bigger version of it. And then it's also got a massive head in it, down the bottom there, about that round. And that actually does mortising on doors. This side of the table, saw under there, so you can clamp a bit of wood to here, the saw docks it, then it just runs it through the end moulder, so you end up with a big anyway, so we'll mortise one way and 10 in the other way, so you can do two joints in one. And then this is just a power feed, so you set that up and it just pulls the timber through. So keeps everything pretty even. Right, so then you've got your pretty much your timber all finger jointed. It goes over to there where there's a glue up table. So anyway, over here you can put your clamps, so you can clamp the timber and you can press it that way. And it sits overnight in that. It's always a good thing to machine your timber and then try and glue it up as fast as possible. So machining your timber, leaving it for a weekend, then gluing up on Monday is bad news. You just end up with major problems because over the weekend the timber will move and end up in problems again.